Okay, so we're going to look a little more closely at short-run aggregate supply. I have not been clear enough in class here for this, and that's my fault, and hopefully this will clarify it a little bit. We have aggregate demand, which we're familiar with, and short-run aggregate supply, remember, is the total amount of output that an economy intends to produce at various price levels. So at all these different price levels, we have different amounts of output that an economy would like to produce, and this is the entire economy, not just one market. As prices go up, producers would like to produce more because there's more profit, and that's true in micro, and this is reflected in macro as well. So our short-run aggregate supply curve slopes up to the right. What we now can do with this, once we have aggregate demand and short-run aggregate supply together, is that we can say, okay, like a marker that works. We can say, okay, the macro economy right now is giving us this amount of output at this average price level. This allows us to now do some analysis when conditions change. Let's say that the government decides to cut people's income taxes. Well, the first thing that we'll see is that when you have more income tax, more dollars in your pocket because of a cut in income taxes, you're going to spend more. C for consumption. Consumption spending will go up. This marker is dead as well, so I'm going to stick with this. C for consumption. We'll have a aggregate demand curve shift to the right. Aggregate demand will shift to the right. Now we have, under these circumstances, we'll have increased output and increased price level. Growth and inflation. So we can do this analysis the way that we do with a micro economy or any micro market. Curves will shift and outputs will change because of it. One thing we don't have necessarily is that we don't have necessarily surpluses and shortages causing changes in the average price level. When we look at long-run aggregate supply, that'll be different. But in any case, we have the aggregate demand curve and the short-run aggregate supply curve together. And when we look at the two, it allows us to determine equilibrium output and price level in a country or in an economy. And when we look at changes in the aggregate demand or aggregate supply, we can then look at changes in the GDP and price level.